I was following Bhagavan. Bhagavan suddenly stopped and turned to me and said, Vishwanatha, you should equip yourself with the capacity to treat the whole universe as nothing but a worthless dust. However, Bhagavan continued, at the same time, you should also be capable of treating even a dust as a colossally significant thing, as big and as important as the universe. I always share with my friends, we have already lost 3,000 years. We should have woken up when Moses got the answer from God, I am that I am. At least now we will wake up. When you wake up in the now, you will find out there is no Moses, no 3,000 years, no Ganesan, no world, but the I am, except the I am. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Prostrations to Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi, who has come in so many forms to bless us all. You remember in our last session, I gave you a homework. From my school days, I hated homeworks. But still, this is about our truth. This is not just for one night or 1 minute or 1 hour homework, all our life. I posed 2 questions. One was, has there ever been a world without a mind? Conversely, is there such a thing as mind without a world in it as its content? The second question is there any thought as such without a you? Every thought is about you or what you think about others, objects, subject, people, incidents, events, what you think about it. Is there a mind without the world as its content? Is there a thought without you? Many years back, these 2 questions were put to me by Vishwanatha Swami. I looked at him with awe and wonder. He said, Ganesan, these 2 are not my questions. They were put to me by Bhagavan. When we were going up the hill, Bhagavan raised these 2 questions. Try to answer them inwardly, sincerely. I took up these 2 questions and stayed with them for 1 week, sincerely. This is how we spiritual seekers have to stay with the spiritual truth. We should not read it like a novel. 300 pages within 2 hours. You should stay. For 1 week, I stayed with that. Then after 7 days, Vishwanath Swami himself came to me. He is a man of very few words. So he looked at me, what? Then I told him, Swami, what a wonder. These 7 days, I have been pondering over that. Both the world and you stood still and evaporated. But Swami, it was only temporarily. Vishwanath Swami patted me on my back. He said, you had a glimpse. That's a very good beginning. And then he explained to me, you took 7 days. After Bhagavan raised that question to me, I took only 1 day and went back to Bhagavan, reported exactly as you said. The mind and the you evaporated. But in my case, with conviction I told Bhagavan, permanently it has left. Then he explained to me, our experience and built up knowledge of the solidity and the reality of the world and a you are so strongly embedded in us that even when Bhagavan told me, it's a myth. It seemed impossible to accept it because we see the world so solidly. We take the you, that is us, this body, so solidly. We have been built up from childhood. It's a myth. It is almost impossible for us to accept this is a myth. So Bhagavan did a trick. Vishwanath Swami explained to me. He did a trick. All the Vedas are going on emphasizing the world is a myth. What you see outside is a myth. You as a body is a myth. It is not real. But we could not, as an argument we may accept, but it is not, it was not happening as an experience. So, Bhagavan tricked me by saying, find out there is a mind, find out there is thought. Because these two, we seekers, we know very well. They are not there. The mind is not there. The thought is not there because both of them are created by you. And Vishwanath Swami said, see the trick. When you know that the mind is not there, the thought is not there, the world and you depend on the mind and thought, so all the four evaporate instantly. This is what happens in our meditation. Whenever you are silent, whenever you turn within, a process does happen, but with electronic speed. What do you mean by, I am in silence? It is very peaceful. Let it be for a few minutes when you meditate. The absence of these four, the world outside, the you outside this body, and the mind which says the world is real, and the thought which says you are the body. So all the four obstacles in a stroke disappear. You have to experience it. Not accept it as an argument. Bhagavan's teaching is to release yourself from your own restrictions. However, the next day, again Vishwanath Swami came to me and talked to me. A very rare incident. He seldom speaks. But Ganesan, when you have the experience of the world, the you, the mind, and the thought coming to a standstill, you have to be very careful. You should be very careful when dealing with the world and the you, because they are there. You cannot deny this body. You cannot deny this world outside. They are there. But strangely, simultaneously, in your meditation, none of them are there. Both there, they are there, and they are not there. That is, he explained, you should live in the world, not run away from that. It is not a negative statement. The world doesn't exist, it is a myth. It is not a negative approach. You have to live in the world and also live as a you, we Ganesan, whatever the name, but never caught up by these both cocoons of unreality. You should release all the time. Should be alert. That's why the Hindu Vedas say, Jagrada Jagrada, Sada Jagrada. Be alert, be alert, always be alert. Because of this paradox of opposites. The world is there, but it is also not there. You are there as we Ganesan, but also you are not there. So you have to be all the time. The Upanishad says, it is just like walking on a razor's edge. Very sharp, very alert. The next day, again Vishwanath Swami came and said, dealing with the world and you, there is a most significant teaching Bhagavan gave me. I went along with him on the hill. That's the time when a person can be alone and talk freely with Bhagavan. Very rare opportunity. I was following Bhagavan. Bhagavan suddenly stopped and turned to me and said, Vishwanatha, you should equip yourself with the capacity to treat the whole universe as nothing but a worthless dust. However, Bhagavan continued, at the same time, you should also be capable of treating even a dust as a colossally significant thing, as big and as important as the universe. It was so thrilling to hear Vishwanath Swami making clear of this doubt. The whole world is true, but at the same time it is not true. You should be able to treat the entire universe creation as just worthless as a piece of dust. But that doesn't mean everything. Bhagavan used to pick up even a single grain. When he was walking in front of ashram storeroom, a few grains of rice were scattered. It is very difficult for Bhagavan to bend down or stand. He bent down, he picked up every grain of the rice and then went inside the storeroom. There is a pot for rice. He opened it and put it. 4 or 5 grains every time he went and put it. That's what he means. Even the dust, useless dust, you should be able to treat as the most significant, as important as the universe. Even after hearing all this, our conviction that the world is true, this body is true, is so strong in us. It's very difficult. I'm talking about myself, what happened. The grip and the hold on us of the false reality of the world and you, the body as such, continued to be felt by me, but after listening to Vishwanath Swami, it was very light. It was not so solid. When you are not totally convinced of a truth, the easiest method, as we shared, there are 3 references we can turn to: the scripture, the guru, or one's own inner conscience. I always had all these old devotees. So when I was not totally capable of treating the world and myself as untrue, though I understood, I had a grip, I had a glimpse. I went to Arthur Osborne. He was there. Don't hesitate to go to senior devotees who are more mature than us. A few more mileage, few hundred mileage they have walked more than us. They will be able to help us. At least help us to avoid the danger and uncomfortable or obstacles. They can say, hey, don't step on that. So I went to Osborne, and what he told me was strange, but it was very useful. He said, Ganesan, do not ignore the mythological stories, either Greek, Egyptian, Hebrew, Hindu, Chinese. For us aspirants, the guideline may be hidden there. Whatever these old devotees tell me, I do not take it as a casual advice. I take it as the truth itself. So now, let us come to our 2 verses. Today's class. Whichever way, my friends, you turn, you cannot escape yourself. The other day when I shared about the story of the globe, when Bhagavan kept it aside, and the next day a person came and he was not happy with the family. Then Bhagavan said, you are going to stay in Ramana Ashram. The rules of the Ramana Ashram is, they may say, sir, the 3 days are over. You will go to Himalayas. There, 2 months you will be happy. Somebody will ask you to get out. Where will you go? Will you go to Australia, America? And then Bhagavan took the globe. Can you jump out of this? Wherever you go, outwardly, there is no solution of peace. Conversely, whenever you turn within, wherever, whatever the situation, that's why I shared the stories of the sages we have to read. One sage was put in boiling water. He was singing Rama, 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 happy. That is, turning within, you can be happy. Any situation. That's why this treatise on Ulladu Narpadu, reality in 40 verses is very important. This is the truth about you. When I say you, the I am in every one of us. Today's 2 verses are எப்பெயரெட்டெவ்வுருவில் ஏத்தினுமார் பேருருவில் அப்பொருளை காண்வழியதாயினுமம் மெய்ப்பொருளின் உண்மையில் தன் உண்மையினை ஓர்ந்தொடுங்கி ஒன்றுதலே உண்மையில் காணல் உணர். This is verse 8. Verse 9. இரட்டைகள் முப்புடிகள் என்று ஒன்று பற்றி இருப்பவாம் அவ்வொன்றேதென்று கருத்தினுள் கண்டால் கழலும் அவை கண்டவரே உண்மை கண்டார் கலங்காரே காண். Verse 8, translation. Under whatever name and form one may worship the absolute reality, it would lead one on only to realize that very same nameless and formless absolute reality. Realizing that one's simple being as none other than the truth of that absolute reality and abiding in it, thereby getting absorbed into it, alone is true self-realization. Verse 9. The Dyads and the Triads never exist without the support of the one reality. Searching within us as to what that one reality is, the Dyads and Triads would disappear. Those who see thus are the true seers of truth. Never are they perplexed. This is the verse. The verse 8, which deals with the names and forms of reality, God. Naturally, all of us religious people, whenever there is a name of a God or a form of a God is given, we are little perplexed, particularly for us who follow Bhagavan's teaching. If the truth is within us, what about the truth outside? They call it as God. So, we are going to, that's the 8th verse. Under whatever name and form one may worship the absolute reality, it would lead one on only to realize that the same nameless and formless and formless absolute reality is the same. And realizing that one's simple being as none other than the truth of that absolute reality and abiding in it, thereby getting absorbed into it, alone is true self-realization. With regard to worshipping God with a name and a form, Sri Bhagavan's standpoint has always been from the inner perception of one's self I am. We always look through the eyes, through the ears, God, church, temple. But Bhagavan's perception of whichever God you refer to, Rama, Krishna, Shiva. When Bhagavan said Arunachala is Shiva, the Hindus thought Bhagavan was referring to the Hindu god Shiva. But immediately Bhagavan said Shiva means auspiciousness, the meaning of Shiva. And one's own self is the most auspicious existence. So Arunachala means one's own self. So Bhagavan's standpoint with regard to worshipping God with a name and a form, his standpoint is always from the inner repetition, from the inner perception of one's own self and I am. He neither rejected the God with form and name, nor extolled them. Let us see Bhagavan's statements on Nama. Nama means God's name. It's better we quote directly from his own words. I have great faith that referring to, even in English, to his words are more powerful than our paraphrasing it, because our own brain will come in there. So about the name of God, talks with Ramana Maharshi, talk number 526. A visitor asked Sri Bhagavan, people give some names to God and say that the name is sacred and the repetitions of the name bestow merit on the individual. Can it be true to give a name to God and then say it is repetition is meritorious? Bhagavan, why not? You bear a name to which you answer. But your body was not born with that name written on it, nor did it say to anyone that it bore such and such a name, and yet a name is given to you and you answer to that name because you have identified yourself with the name. Therefore, the name signifies something and it is not a mere fiction. Similarly, God's name is effective. Repetition of the name is remembrance of what it signifies, hence its merit. But the visitor did not look satisfied. Finally, he wanted to retire and prayed for Sri Bhagavan's grace. Smilingly, Sri Bhagavan now asked the visitor how mere sounds of assuring him of grace would satisfy him unless he had faith. Bhagavan saying, yes, my grace is with you. How is it going to work unless you have faith? Both laughed and the visitor retired. The next talk is also significant, 527. A group of respectable Coorg ladies was in the hall. One of them asked, I have received a mantra. Mantra is a name of God. People frighten me saying that it may have unforeseen results if repeated. It is only pranava, it is merely Om. Somebody said, go on repeating Om, Om, Om. They frighten me, so I seek your advice. May I repeat it? I have considerable faith in it. Bhagavan, certainly. It should be repeated with faith. Will it do by itself, or can you kindly give me any further instructions? Bhagavan, the object of mantra japa, that is repeating that name, is to realize that the same japa is already going on in oneself even without effort, like the I am. Bhagavan said, I am is the greatest mantra. Go on repeating I am, it will lead you back to the I am. The oral japa means repetition, becomes mental, and the mental japa finally reveals itself as being eternal. You remember Bhagavan told Sabristar Narayaniya, go on repeating all the 40 verses, the Ulladu Narpadu, without gap, without stopping. The words will drop and the essence will stay with you. It is the same with God's name, whether Allah, Jesus, Mary, Rama, Krishna, Shiva. the world will drop and the essence of quietude, peace, be still, that will result as an experience. The oral japa, repetition becomes mental. Instead of chanting Om, 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 Om or laudibly, mentally you start chanting Om or I am. The oral japa becomes mental, and the mental japa finally reveals itself as being eternal within. The mantra is the person's real nature. That's also the state of realization. The devotee. Can the bliss of samadhi be gained by this? That is repetition of japa. Bhagavan. The japa becomes mental and finally reveals itself as the self. That is samadhi. Devotee, please, Bhagavan, please show grace to me and strengthen me in my efforts. This is about the name of God. In Day by Day also, Bhagavan talks about when a questioner asked, my practice has been a continuous japa of the names of God with the incoming breath and the name of Baba with the outgoing breath. Simultaneously with this, I see the form of Baba always. Even in Bhagavan, I see Baba. The external appearances are also much alike. Bhagavan is thin, Baba was a little stout. Now, should I continue this or change the method, as something from within says that if I stick to the name and form, I shall never go above name and form. But I can't understand what further to do after giving up name and form. Will Bhagavan please enlighten me on the point? Bhagavan, you may continue in your present method. When the japa becomes continuous, all other thoughts cease, and one is in one's real nature, which is japa or dhyana. We turn our mind outwards on things of the world and are therefore not aware of our real nature being always japa I am. When by conscious effort or japa or dhyana as well call it, we prevent our mind from thinking of other things, then what remains is our real nature, which is the name. So long as you think you are name and form, you can't escape name and form in japa also. When you realize you are not name and form, then name and form will drop off themselves. No other effort is necessary. Japa or dhyana will naturally and as a matter of course lead to it. What is now regarded as the means, japa, will then be found to be the goal. Name and God are not different. This is about the name. And the next aspect of that, verse 8, is on the form of God. That is, those who have had visions of a particular God with whom they could talk, walk, and even play were ultimately guided back to their own inner self, the nameless and the formless absolute, by the very same God with form. There are many instances in sages' lives, but Bhagavan quoted the story of Saint Namdev, who lived many centuries ago in North India. It's a beautiful story. Bhagavan repeatedly quoted this story of Saint Namdev. who lived 600 years back. The September 1937 number of the Vision contains an article on the philosophy of the divine name according to Saint Namdev. Bhagavan frequently refers to it with approval. Today also Dr. Srinivas Rao brought it and Bhagavan explained it to him. Bhagavan remarked, all this must have been uttered by Saint Namdev after he attained complete realization, after touching the feet of Vishopakesar, to whom God Vitoba sent him for enlightenment. Bhagavan then related the whole story. Saint Namadev was playing with God, that God, particular God, like in Tiruvannamalai, the God is called Arunachaleshwara. In everywhere the God's name may differ, but what they refer to is the same God. So here in Maharashtra, the God's name was Vittal or Vitoba, the same God Vittal or God Vitoba. Namdev used to go and play in the temple. He will animate and then come and play with him, talk to him. That's what he says. Vitoba, that is the Lord, found Namdev had not yet realized the supreme truth and wanted to teach him. When another Saint Jnaneshwar and Saint Namdev returned from their pilgrimage, another saint, just a pot maker, uneducated pot maker, he was Saint Gorakumbar. He wanted to give feast to all these saints, so Gorakumbar invited them for food in their lunch in his small cottage. Gora gave a feast to all the saints in his place, and among them were Saint Jnaneshwar and Saint Namdev. At the feast, before eating, Saint Jnaneshwar, in collusion with Gora, the saint, told Gora publicly, "Oh Gora, you are a potter, daily engaged in making pots and testing them to see which are properly baked and which are not. These pots before you," including himself, "these pots before you are the pots of God. Say which of these are sound, mature and baked and which are not." Thereupon Saint Gora said, "Yes, Swami, I will do it." Yes. I love that, yes. "Yes, Swami, I shall do so." And took up the stick with which he used to tap his pots to test their soundness, and holding it aloft in his hand, he went to each of his guests and tapped each on the head as he usually did to his pots. Each guest humbly submitted to such tapping. But when Gora approached Namdev, because he is very proud that he talks and plays with God, when Gora approached Namdev, the latter indignantly called out, "You potter? What do you mean by coming to tap me with that stick and doubting me?" Gora thereupon told Jnaneshwar, "Swami, all the other pots have been properly baked, but this one, this Namdev alone, is not yet properly baked." All the assembled saints burst into laughter. Namdev felt greatly humiliated and ran up to the temple to his god Vittal, with whom he was on the most intimate terms, playing with him, eating with him, sleeping with him, and so on. Namdev complained of this humiliation which had happened to him, the closest friend and companion of the Lord. Vittal, God, who of course knew all this, pretended to sympathize with him and asked for all the details of the happenings at Gora's house, and after hearing everything said, "Why should you not have kept quiet and submitted to the tapping as all the others did? That's why all this trouble has come." Thereupon Namdev cried all the more and said, "You also want to join the others and humiliate me? Why should I have submitted like the others? Am I not your closest friend, Lord? Your child, my Lord?" "Lord," Vittal said, "you have not yet properly understood the truth, my friend, and you won't understand if I tell you. But go to the saint who is in a ruined temple in the next forest. He will be able to give you enlightenment." Namdev accordingly went there and found an old unassuming man sleeping in a corner of the temple with his feet on a Shivalinga. For Hindus, the holiest symbol is Shivalinga. This old man is keeping his feet on the Shivalinga. Namdev could hardly believe this was the man from whom he, the companion of God Vittal, was going to gain enlightenment. However, as there was none else there, Namdev went near the man and clapped his hands. The old man woke up with a start and seeing Namdev said, "Oh, you are Namdev whom Vittal has sent here. Come." Namdev was dumbfounded and began to think, this must be a great man. Still he thought it was revolting that any man, however great, should be resting his feet on a lingam. He asked the old man, "You seems to be a great personage, but is it proper for you to have your feet on a lingam?" The old man replied, "Oh, are my feet on a lingam? Where is it? Please remove my feet elsewhere." Namdev removed the feet and put them in various places. Wherever they were put, there was a Shivalinga. Finally, he took the feet on his lap, because everywhere, every inch here, Shivalinga. Yes, he put the feet. Then he knew, later on Bhagavan explained, see the brain. He knew there is no Shivalingam here. So he took the feet on his lap. Finally, he took them on his lap and he himself became a Shivalingam. Then he realized the truth and the old gentleman said, "Now you can go back." Bhagavan added the following. After narrating, all these were narrated by Bhagavan. Then Bhagavan added, "It is to be noted that only when he surrendered himself and touched the feet of his Guru, enlightenment came. After this final enlightenment, Saint Namdev returned to his house and for some days did not go to Vittal at the temple, though it had been his habit not only to visit Lord Vittal every day, but to spend most of his time with Vittal at the temple. So after a few days, God Vittal in form went to Namdev's house and like a guileless soul inquired how it was that Namdev has forgotten him, his closest friend, and never visited him. Namdev replied, "Lord, no more of your fooling me. I know now where is the place where you are not. To be with you, should I go to the temple? Do I exist apart from you?" Then Vittal said, "So you now understand the truth. That's why you had to be sent for this final initiation lesson. Then the verse 9 is about the Dyads and the Triads never exist without the support of the one reality. Searching within us as to what that one reality is, the Dyads and Triads would disappear. Those who see thus are the true seers of truth. Never are they perplexed. With that, I want to quote the brilliant summing up of S.S. Cohen quotation. This is what Cohen says on the verse 9. The Dyads are the pairs of opposites, knowledge and ignorance, light and darkness, happiness and misery, birth and death, etc. The Triad is the triple principle of the seen, the seer and the sight. That is, the object, the subject, and the perception of the object by the subject. As all the numbers stand on and originate from the first number 1, so are the Dyads and Triads based on, arise from, and of the nature of the one seer, the perceiving mind. He who realizes that the world is nothing but the projection of one's own mind will never be deluded or caught up in the ignorance of holding the world to be true or real. I want to quote from talks in support of this. Talks number 28. Devotee asks, what is the goal of this life? Bhagavan, realizing the real. Devotee, what is the nature of that reality? Bhagavan gives, like a professor, A, B, C, D. A, existence without beginning or end, that is eternal. Existence everywhere, endless and infinite. C, existence underlying all forms, all changes, all forces, all matter and all spirit. D, it is the one displaying the Triads, knower, knowledge and the known. The Triads are only appearances in time and space, whereas the reality lies beyond and behind them. The Dyads and Triads are like a mirage over the reality. They are the result of delusion. Then devotee asks, if I also be an illusion, who then casts off this illusion? Bhagavan, the I casts off the illusion I and yet remains as I. Such is the paradox of self-realization. You, the mind, the Ganesan, has to reject the mind of Ganesan and remain as the I am within. That's what Bhagavan means. The I casts off the illusion I. By self-inquiry, we inquire within. That is only with the mind we make the inquiry. The I alone, the illusory I alone makes the inquiry. The I, by inquiry, we cast off. We come to experience that we are not the ego mind or the ego I. The I casts off the illusion I and yet remains as I am. I, the experience of I all the time, vibrating, pulsating. We will continue with the 40 verses. This is the truth about ourselves. And the most important thing, I remember our Ramana Baba also used to say, one has to live in the world, but not of the world. That's what this today's sharing was about Vishnu Swami, everything. Just not giving up the world and then say, this is not true. Find out who says that it is not true. Holding to the truth, we can reject anything. By just rejecting, you will become a pot full of disappointments and regrets, frustration, in negativity, spiritual solution is not there. But as Bhagavan says in this, the eye casts off the illusion of eye and yet remains as the eye. You have to cast off the illusion of the world and the body and yet remain in the world and in the body, but not controlled by the world or by the body. That is when we go further, the same thing Bhagavan makes us again and again repeating, makes us experience it. Thank you for your patient listening. Thank you very much. It's your truth. I mean, when I say your, including myself, it's our truth. And it is imminent. I always share with my friends, we have already lost 3,000 years. We should have woken up when Moses got the answer from God, I am that I am. At least now we will wake up. When you wake up in the now, you will find out there is no Moses, no 3,000 years, no Ganesan, no world, but the I am, except the I am. The I am is always in the now. When God declared to Moses, it was in the now. We read it as a history. That's why we are not able to understand. Even now, if you say just Moses, just Jesus or Ramana Maharshi, you will be in the past. You cannot understand. Stay in the now. What Moses, Jesus and Ramana Maharshi said is, now is your state. Stay in the present tense. That's why Bhagavan says, giving up the world, turning within. You are the same I am which God declared to Moses. You are the same I am which Jesus shared in the Bible. And 54 years, Bhagavan, day and night, he was exposed publicly. No one was prevented from meeting him. When a devotee asked, Bhagavan, at least we will close the doors. He said, no. A suffering soul will come. It has to be awakened. By staying in the state of I am alone, when the speaker is in the state of I am, the listener cannot escape from experiencing I am. That's what Bhagavan was doing. Thank you.